Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this meeting to order, the El Centro City Council meeting for March the 21st. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Carter,
Present.
Councilmember Oliva,
Present.
Councilmember Garcia,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Marroquin,
Present.
Mayor Cardenas Singh.
Present. Thank you. At this time, please, if I can ask you to please stand. Councilmember Sonia Carter, if you'll please lead us in the invocation after the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our Mayor Pro Tem.
Please join me in saluting the flag of our nation. Ready, begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you saying thank you. We're asking you, Lord, just to go ahead and bless this decision-making that is made at this today, any day around. Tomorrow, we have several meetings that are coming up. Please, Lord, you be in the seat of the meetings and you be in control of everything that is going on. Bless everybody that's here and bless everybody that cannot be here. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, colleagues, for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and ask our Madam City Attorney to please report out on closed session.
Madam Mayor, there's no report from closed session for this meeting.
Thank you very much. With that, I'll go ahead and move on to public comments. For public comments, this is a public meeting. If there is an item on the agenda on which you wish to be heard, you are asked to complete a blue speaker slip and submit it to the city clerk prior to the starting of the meeting. Persons wishing to address the council are not required to identify themselves. However, this information assists the mayor by ensuring that all persons wishing to address the council are recognized, and also assists the city clerk in preparing the city council minutes. When the item is announced and your name is called by the mayor, please step to the podium, state your name for the record. Unless the mayor extends the time, there is a 3-minute limit. I have one public comment. Is there any others, Madam City Clerk?
None, Mayor.
None? Is there anyone online?
No, none.
All right, so I'll go ahead and move forward with this blue speaker slip. I please would like to ask Judy Tagg to come up. Good evening, Ms. Tagg. How are you?
Good evening, thank you. Judy Tagg, my address is 199 South Sunset Drive, El Centro, California. I've been here before for actually the same issue. I have some documentation that I made copies for everybody, if you would like them, so you can see what I'm referring to.
Madam City Clerk, please, if you could distribute those for us.
So, in a nutshell, I received this notice from Code Enforcement Officer on March 10th. Last Friday it was written March 7th. Here again, Code Enforcement Officer. I was told I was out of compliance on a rental I have at 2429 Wensley, El Centro, California, and in violation of Code 29144, which is your fence, block wall, hedge height. In a nutshell, and if you look at the second page of pictures, in your code, which I have not pulled the code is written on page 2 at the bottom. It's a violation to have a block wall hedge fence higher than 36 inches according to this code. If you look at the page 2, those are 3 separate oleander trees. I went and measured them, and as you can see on the third page, these is how they look today. Because I'm in compliance, I'm not going to get a $500 fine. It's before March 28th. But there's 36 inches between them and about 20 to 22 at the top. So I'm here to say that I immediately sent Mr. Joe Verdugo, who helps me, over there, and the next door neighbor came out and said, I am the one that turned you in. I used to work for the city. I know the codes. I know Frank Soto in Public Works, and I called him to write you up. So he wrote me up. I'm in compliance. But I want to know what the definition of a hedge is, because when you look at these three bushes, either they're not even contiguous. So I think you all need to look at that code. I know I spoke with Ms. Carter about this for a minute on Friday night, and she said other people had talked to her about it. And if you look at she's quoting, she said that it impaired the vision of her to back out of her driveway. You look at page 3, those are my 3 pictures of what they look now that I just took. Line of sight. These are beyond the parkway, beyond the sidewalk, on my lawn, setback. Her driveway is, she's got trees, but, whatever, that's just her. My more intent on telling you this is because everybody I've showed it can't believe it. And I follow through on things, so that's why I'm here. And I ask you to drive down to the courthouse in the next block and look at their contiguous hedge that is over 4 to 5 feet tall. So if you're gonna go after somebody, you should, play fair to everybody.
Thank
So-
you, Ms. Tagg.
But one last thing on this,
Yes.
which I don't know if this is still in enforcement. And the last time I was here for the same issue for our office property, which we did get a fine, which I did fight because of you guys sent me this letter March 10th, you gave me to March 28th. I was able to comply. Not everybody can comply that quick. The last time it was our office property out on Ross, it was the month of March, the wind blew every day of the month of March, I brought a whole package. You, at that point in time, and I don't know whether this is true, you contract a firm out of Newport Beach to enforce this code. Once these tickets are written up and assigned, I could not talk to anybody here locally. I had to go, and they are 30, 45 minutes on the phone. I sent a whole FedEx package. They rejected it, because I had all my documentation. Luckily, Norma was still here. I went in when Norma was still working here, went in, she went out. Property was clean, clear, no trash. We got that resolved. It's just not a good practice for people. And the company in Newport Beach, there was no bilingual option. So obviously, we live in Imperial County. That's very, not everybody, I'm a bulldog. I can get on the phone, I can get on a website, I can, but not everybody can do that. If people are willy-nilly writing these threatening letters of a $500 fine, and I think you need to shore up your definition of hedge, because to me, that doesn't look like a hedge.
Interim City Manager, how should we proceed? Would you like to meet with the department head? Would you like us to review the policy? What recommendations do you make?
So there's a couple of things we can do. One, if you like, ma'am, we can go ahead and meet with you. Angel and myself could have a meeting with you to discuss. But I wanted to share with you that this particular item is actually going up to the Planning Commission, at which point it's going to be reviewed, right? I think what we need to look at is what is the will of the community, right? Our hedge is something that, the community is looking to have, and that's what they want to have, versus what is currently in the code. So obviously there's going to be some discussion and action that's going to come out of that particular Planning Commission meeting. It may take a couple of meetings.
Okay, and I get that. I'm not expecting an answer, but I do feel like I was redlined, and I was, there were some inner workings there, and I'm not afraid to say the names because this lady came right out and told me who she called, who works at the city, and was written up within a day. She should have got a hold of me directly and said, I can't see down the sidewalk, which could, because even his pictures, from the first pictures, it's not even impeding into the sidewalk. But now I'm in compliance, so you can't send me a fine.
And we won't. And just, for you to be aware, right, there was a sweep, right, that we were looking at hedges. I believe we had about 11, Angel, is that correct?
So did you send a letter to the County of Imperial for the courthouse?
I don't know about the courthouse. I can't speak for that, but I can speak
Go by
for
and check it out.
11 other neighbors in the general area, right, that actually received also letters of abatement.
Okay, all right.
All right, Ms. Tagg, I appreciate your feedback. Seems like there's a plan in action to come back and to give you an update on that. But we have been hearing that. All right. Just to double check, Madam City Clerk, no other public comments at this
None.
point? All right. All right, colleagues, I'm going to move us on to item for scheduled presentation of new library director, Ms. Carla Mason.
Good afternoon again, Madam Mayor. So it's a happy day in El Centro, right? When we're able to find our the leadership for our library. Most importantly, after a lengthy search and years of not having had a head for our library, we were able to find Carla Mason, who is here today with us. Carla, if you'd like to take a step forward to the podium. With Carla today, we have Heidi, who is with Library System Services, who graciously have assisted us in, one, helping manage the library in the absence of a full-time library director, but also helped us find Carla. I've had a couple of rounds of interviews with a number of people, and after some time, right, we were able to narrow it down to Carla, and we're very happy to have her here before you guys. Hopefully, Carla has a few words to share with us. But Carla has great length of experience. She's worked in large libraries, multi-story in Seattle, and she's worked in smaller libraries here in the state of California, in Kern County, as well in Santa Clarita. And she comes to us from the Santa Barbara County area at this point. So definitely a change in scenery for her, but nonetheless, it's an exciting opportunity to be here in El Centro, and we are excited to have her as well.
Thank you. You kind of already gave my background, but I do have about 12 years of experience in public libraries. And I started in Santa Clarita as a children's librarian, and then moved up to branch manager. And I've worked in Kern County, and I've worked in the downtown Seattle location, that great big huge 11-story building. So I've had a variety of different experiences, and I was born and raised in Southern California. So everybody keeps warning me about the weather in the summer here, but I grew up in Chatsworth, and it's triple digits in the summer, so I'm going to be fine. And I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is a fantastic opportunity, and the brand-new library here it's just incredible. And I think that there were a lot of things that were really well thought out in that library, too, like having a room just for teens and different things like that a lot of libraries don't have. So I'm really excited to see those kinds of things. You have a room that's got like a theater type thing for story time, and I just looked at the library and just was glowing the first time that I saw it. I think it's great, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity here.
Wonderful. Ms. Mason, thank you so much. We're excited to see your leadership here at the library. I know we got to chat just a little bit before the city council meeting started, and I said, we're excited to have you and looking forward to the great things before us and what's going to be available to our community. And you said so much more to come, so I'm excited. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Colleagues, is there anything else that you'd like to add at this point?
I would just like to say thank you for being here. And as I'm hearing where you've been, I heard Santa Clarita, which is Bay Area-ish, right?
No, Santa Clarita's in Los Angeles County.
Oh,
kind of
okay.
on
I'm
the
thinking Santa
edge of
Clara.
it.
So Santa Clarita, but urban.
Right.
Then Kern County, rural. Then Seattle. So it makes sense that you're back at a rural community, right?
Well, when you have a diverse background like that, you get to find out what's your favorite. And I loved Seattle, but you don't have that community feel where you know everybody that's coming into the library and that type of thing. And I found out in Santa Clarita that I really liked that a lot. I liked people walking in and knowing that I was the manager at that particular location, and I even knew some names in the community, and I like that a lot. I think that's special.
Great.
Well, great. I think you're going to find that here, where folks know each other with 1, 2, maybe at most 3 degrees of separation. But we either all went to high school together, we all worked with each other at one point, and so welcome to the community, and thank you for the
Thank
work
you.
to come.
I want to say welcome, and I'm sure my colleagues and I feel the same. If you have any questions or if you just need advice on anything, feel free to reach out, but welcome.
Thank you very much.
Great. Edgar?
Welcome. Look forward to see what you'll do with this new library. Lots of big things.
Pro Tem?
I was just, well, it's kind of, it goes with everything that everybody else has said, but what a transition from Santa Barbara to the Imperial Valley. So, but I'm glad you've lived in an area with triple-digit, weather, and so, it won't be as harsh on you as we just stay indoors, so, and you'll be in that nice new library during the summer, so, and I'm sure you'll have lots of programs for the children and keep everybody busy, so, yes, we look.
I'd rather have this kind of weather actually than Santa Barbara. It's been raining practically every
Oh,
single day.
wow,
And, that gets a little bit old,
yeah,
so I'd much rather have this nice sunny weather here.
yes.
Right. Well, you'll get plenty of sun, that's for sure. Thank you so much, and again, welcome. All right, colleagues, I'd like to move us along to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may pull consent items to be considered separately at a time to be determined by the mayor. Is there any items that you would like pulled? Seeing none, is there a motion? All right, motion made by Councilmember Edgar Garcia, second by Sonia Carter. Please vote. Wonderful. Motion passes 5-0.
Madam Mayor,
Yes?
before you move on to the rest of the agenda, we do need to add an item to the legislative items. That's the support for the ICTC grant funding.
Wonderful.
If the,
All right. So taking a look at colleagues, does it require a vote, Madam City Attorney? Or can I just add it, or does it require a vote?
if the city clerk will call for a vote, it takes a 4/5 vote to add it to the agenda, then we can add it as the third item under legislative matters, if that works for you, Norma.
Yes, that's good.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I have a question for the city attorney. So on this item, I will have to recuse myself. My question to you is, do I have to recuse myself in the vote to add it to the agenda?
No.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, colleagues, so at this point, I have been contacted by Imperial County Transportation Commission, which is ICTC. They're in the process of applying for a grant, and at this time, they had asked for a letter of support, so I'd like to put this letter of support request as under legislation item 12B. Do I have a motion to add that item to the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Although, do we have to do roll call vote, or can I
Yes,
do
please.
one vote?
Yes, it'll be roll call vote. Councilmember Carter?
Yes.
Councilmember Oliva?
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Marroquin?
Yes.
Mayor Cardenas Singh?
Yes, thank you, colleagues. That'll be item 12B. All right. So moving us on to the agenda, under new business, this will be MOU for unrepresented police lieutenant management employees. Ms. Dulce Bedoya, Human Resources Director.
Hello, Madam Mayor and council members. Here before you is the MOU for unrepresented police lieutenant management employees. The modified terms and conditions are being presented to the City Council for final approval. Major changes are as follows: the collapsing of steps, schedules to to 6 steps. I'm sorry, I apologize. The COLA increases will be in July 2023 and July 2024. There's also step increases on their anniversary date, conditioned upon the employee's performance evaluation rating, performance factor or better, satisfactory. Why am I talking like this? I'm sorry.
Sometimes I call it a mouthful of marbles, so just take a deep
So
breath.
it's conditioned upon the employee's performance evaluation rating his or performance satisfactory or better. The employer medical insurance contribution caps are set at 80% based on the limited plant. So therefore, I'm asking for the approval unless there's any question.
Any questions, colleagues, on this item? All right. This item was motioned by Edgar Garcia, second by Marta Cardenas Singh. Please vote. Passes 5-0. Wow, quick fingers. All right, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. All right. Item number 9, discuss Zoom meeting attendance for the public versus broadcasting. Madam City Attorney?
Yes. As you may recall, when the governor's emergency orders regarding remote meetings expired, AB 361 took the place of that order and provided with certain requirements for Zoom meetings to continue. As of the beginning of this year, AB 361 ends, that exception ends at the time that the pandemic emergency ends, which was the end of last month, so March 1st. So at this point in time, you are no longer required to have Zoom meetings. You are allowed, under other provisions of the Brown Act, to have Zoom meetings. Question is whether you would like to continue with those meetings. It does impose certain requirements, which there has not been a problem meeting, such as roll call votes, the maintenance of a platform in which you can both see and hear, and some other requirements regarding how comments are submitted and public comment is conducted. So it is in your discretion to go either way. You also may decide to do that, to proceed on a case-by-case basis. For example, were there to be a meeting with a public hearing where a number of people wish to attend, you could have a Zoom meeting for that one and not for others. Again, at the council's discretion.
All right, colleagues, at this time, comments, feedback, suggestions, recommendations?
So, Madam,
Broadcast the meetings, but reserve the right for having Zoom participation when we have.
Councilmember Garcia, it's hard to hear you.
I said that I think we should have
Perfect.
broadcasting of the meetings. However, I think we should reserve the right to have Zoom meetings when we have particular issues of interest to the public that we anticipate will have high attendance both in person and through Zoom, so we can encourage participation through that forum if possible.
And I do think I do think when we finish this item, the city manager can remind people that you are broadcasting these meetings. It's not interactive, but it's broadcasting in 3 different ways.
So that would be correct. Just to give you an update, right? We made some.
Please.
I'm sorry?
Yes, please.
Yes, so we made some adjustments. So now we are actually live on YouTube, live on Twitter, as well as live on Facebook. The interaction there is one way, and what I mean by that is the public is able to post comments, right? And we're able to see those. However, our reply back to them is what's not there at this point. However, in all 3 of those platforms, we're able to stream live. This meeting is being live streamed at this point on all 3 of those platforms.
With the ability, of course, they're broadcast live, and then they're also archived so that they can also be viewed at a later time and date.
Absolutely, yes.
so
It seems to me that Zoom is about the only platform that really enables us to see the comments at that point, right? So I would definitely want to continue. And I share the same sentiment with Councilmember Garcia, because we want to encourage participation from the community and not discourage them from doing so. So I think we should still maintain a platform where they're able to comment or ask questions, and we're able to see them here in the chambers. And I think Zoom is probably about the one option that offers that. So I would be in favor of continuing that.
On a as-needed basis?
On an as-needed basis, yes.
I agree.
wait, so I have I don't think I fully understand what the direction is. Is it that broadcasting stays the same, but the Zoom is just as needed? And I guess what I'm trying to figure out is why isn't the Zoom just staying the same as now and continue as is? You know, I guess, specific question, why is broadcast and Zoom always not the default?
If it's not fixed, I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's what
But that's what we're doing right now, like broadcasting and Zoom. Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
so I'm wondering why do we need to pull back on Zoom for ad needed? Because if in the years, right, that we've been using Zoom, we maybe had one moment where it was, you know, somebody decided to come in and be obscene or be you know, controversial, but it was one time over the course of like several years, right? And I don't see that to be a problem. It's not a consistent
Are
problem.
we able to keep Zoom? We're able to keep
That's
it, right?
for us to determine tonight,
Yes.
yes.
And so that's why I'm, to my colleagues that said on as needed basis, I'm just asking for, to help me understand why as needed and not all the time. And I just want to
Well, I mean,
understand.
I was just thinking if there's something particular that we know that we were going to discuss and we were expecting a lot of people that essentially aren't going to come here in person, then we can offer them Zoom so they can participate if they have any questions, which historically they haven't. It's not like we get a lot of participation from Zoom anyway. I just wanted to keep it as an option, but I don't think we have to do it for every meeting if we're broadcasting through 3 channels anyway. I mean, viewership is low. Participation is even less. But I think that we should have the option to bring it out if we have something that's absolutely pressing that we've gotten a lot of individual attention from, or if we want to make it even more open to the public and people know, and we'll be advertising that we'll be having this Zoom meeting so they can be a part of it, not just having it every single time. I don't think it's really necessary, considering we're already broadcasting on 3 different platforms.
Sonia, any feedback on that?
I see it both ways. We are broadcasting on 3 different platforms, but I see it as this is people's norm. This is what they're used to. They're going to go to Zoom before they go to any other, unless we push those other platforms some other type of way where they could get the knowledge that they're out there. But I think Zoom is going to be the go-to. And I have to agree with Tomas. We need to just let it be. It wouldn't affect anything, right?
No. And, you know, now that I think about it, and something that you said made me think that, you know, Zoom enables anybody to just access it via the internet as YouTube. But the other platforms, you have to actually be a
Yes.
member of.
Yes,
You know, so we would be taking away,
yes.
you
From
know,
those
the
people.
ability of people to participate just using online,
I'm sorry, excuse
programs.
me, Councilman Olivia, sorry, my fault.
Yes, you
You're
know,
fine.
so, you know, I mean, I could go either way, but the more, you know, when you said that, it brought that to, you know, to the point that I think maybe then we should just continue Zooming as a norm, like.
If that's people's norm now, so might as well just adapt to our community and just push forward with it and let it be. That's my thought.
All right, I'll share with you, I think, I can speak at least from a point of access, and the point of access is Zoom has been embraced and has become part of our ability to connect and interact. Maybe those individuals choose not to log on, but at least it is an option. And that just seems to me as from a point of access to continue providing that opportunity. We can always reassess, take a look at it. But for myself, I see it from a point of access is what I'm looking at. So at this point, any more discussion on this item?
You know, my only question is just to kind of give one last go at thinking about it in a different way. Is there a cost involved to, whether we change the levels of this stuff, right? Like whether if we allowed for Zoom to be constant and as a default to be available at every single meeting versus as a case by case, is there a cost difference to that?
For Zoom, yearly cost, it's only $105. Yearly
Per
cost.
meeting or yearly?
Yearly.
It's an annual subscription.
Annual subscription.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in that case.
Yeah, so-
you know.
It's minimal, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that probably between all of the platforms for broadcasting, the annual cost is probably under $600 for YouTube, for Twitter, for Facebook, and as well as when you include all of them, right, including Zoom.
All right, so at this point, is there a motion on the floor for this item?
So, Madam Mayor, I would say that based on what I'm gathering, I think all of us want access. And if we had a choice, I think collectively we would all say that the default being that the Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Zoom be offered at every meeting as a default. And that would be the motion.
Right.
Okay.
All right, Councilmember Tomas Oliva is the mover, second. Councilmember Sonia Carter, please vote. Thank you, that passes 5-0. All right. Moving us on to item number 10, discussion and any necessary actions regarding the acceptance of the 2022 Housing Element Annual Report. Mr. Hernandez.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council and those in attendance tonight. I'll be providing a presentation on our annual progress report. This is a report we submit every year to the Department of Housing and Community Development regarding our housing element. And I'll be also taking this opportunity to just speak in general about residential development in the city of El Centro. So for the first part, I'll be talking about the actual housing element annual progress report, go over the regional housing needs assessment, we just call it RENA for short, how we're progressing with that, the status of our housing element programs are within our housing elements. Later, I'll be going over kind of trends since 2014 regarding housing development, and also give you kind of a preview of what's coming up this year, this calendar year in housing. So just in brief, the housing element, it's one of the 9 chapters we have in our general plan, and it concerns how to meet the housing needs of the community. We are required to submit a report to the state, to the Department of Housing and Community Development each April 1st, just going over our progress with some of the goals and policies that we have in that document. The study before you is the report just for the previous calendar year, which is the first full year of the planning period that we adopted our housing element from 2021 to 2029. So just to reiterate, this is the housing element that was adopted last year is from 2021 to 2029, and this is the first progress report that will cover a full calendar year. So this is probably a very important table as from the housing element. It goes over our regional housing needs progress. So the first column, it spells out the number of units and the income levels that were designated to the city from SCAG and from the state as goals during this planning period. The second column shows how much building permits were issued the last calendar year. The third column shows kind of the sum of all the building permits that were issued since 2021 till 2022. And the last column is the remaining. One thing I want to note is 2021, we're only counting half of the year because of some kind of legislative requirements about when the planning period starts for the RENA. So there's a total of about 14 programs that are in our housing element. I chose these 5 because there are 5 programs that have basically a definite goal in mind. The first program I want to highlight is the adequate sites are zoned for RENA. This is something that we partially did when we adopted the first phase of the zoning code update last year. It rezoned several of the properties, and that basically demonstrates, it shows that we have the land that's appropriately zoned to meet our RENA numbers. The one pending item for that program is we need to kind of provide an inventory of those vacant of those properties online. The next 2 programs are procedures that our department will need to write down and evaluate. So first is the monitor residential capacity procedure. So this is a state law saying that, for instance, if there's a rezoning from a residential use to a commercial use, we need to monitor that to make sure that we are still have the capacity to meet our RENAs. It's also it's an evaluation procedure whenever you see like a project and it's being built at a possibly lower density than was expected from the RENA, from the housing needs allocation. That's something that we will have to monitor. The third is also a similar project that we would need to finish, is to provide an evaluation procedure to allow by right approval of projects with 20% affordable development. So this is a procedure that the city would need to draft. So whenever there is some type of like deed restricted project that provides 20% affordable housing, there is a streamlined process to review those procedures. The next one is the zoning code amendments, and that's also was part of the zoning code update that was approved in November and was in place in December. And that's what it basically provided the development standards for the new zoning designations that were adopted. And the last one is a policy that we would need to work on to prioritize water and sewer priority for affordable housing. So the next couple slides, I'm going to go over just in general about the state of housing in the city. This chart shows from 2014 till last year the number of building permits that were issued, and it's broken down by the type of building permits. I think the one thing I want to identify is the low amount of building permits that were issued last year. It's kind of hard to say why exactly. I know a lot of recently during this period, we've been seeing a lot of growth in multifamily, and our developers that focus on multifamily, they were all really busy the last calendar year with actual projects. The next slide, I'll kind of show you what will be the result of that. So, but it is a sharp downturn from the previous 8 years. Something else that I want to highlight is the accessory dwelling units that have been approved for permit. You know, it started off from 26 the year before and 35 last year. I'm expecting it to stay around 40 units per year. And the last thing I want to identify is just kind of the low amount of single family that's being permitted. I'll say most of these permits from last year, the last 3 years, are either from the Lotus Ranch subdivision, which could be that was kind of identified in 2020. But lately, we've been seeing a lot of like subdivisions of these properties. We call it the El Dorado Colonial area, where there's large lots, and then people are buying. People have properties, and they're making like 3 or 4 units on those lots. So I expect we could see some demand from that one. I don't expect it to be a lot this year, but there are some projects that are in the works to kind of meet that demand for single family. I don't know if there's any questions regarding this chart. It's kind of, I know there's a lot of numbers, or I could take questions later. Okay, next couple slides, I'm going to go over some of the trends and some of the projects that we're working on this year. So as of today, we've only issued 7 we only have permitted 7 residential units year to date. It's a slow start, admittedly, but I foresee in the next 3 months, we'll be issuing building permits for like 220 units, and I broke down by those 3 major projects. So first is the Hacienda Gardens Phase 1. That's 96 units. They're really close on getting their building permits. The Courtyard Villas Phase 2. This is probably see the active construction site of Phase 1 behind Target. That's the apartments that are being built. So those are 3 phases, and they plan on getting started on Phase 2 this year. And the last one is El Dorado Family Apartments, Phase 3. Phase 1 is there was a ribbon cutting last year. They're working on Phase 2 right now, and they'll be getting their building permits for Phase 3 this year. So all in total, that's 220 units just for those 3 projects, which just by itself would, I mean, that's more. There's those 3 projects is going to be more building permits issued for housing than during this time from 2014 till last year. Yeah, and I just want to highlight these 3 projects, which will be brought before the City Council at some time this year. The Town Center 2 single-family residential subdivision. That's a small lot subdivision that we're doing environmental right now, and it'll be brought before this body, I'll say within the next 6 months. And that's 104 units of single-family detached housing. The 6 and Spear Apartments. That's another 292 units, and that's gonna we're evaluating a change of zone, which will be brought before this body, and also 1224 Pico Avenue. That's another 56 units that are also being evaluated for a change of zone. So I don't expect these projects to pull building permits this year, but they'll be pulling building permits 2024 and onward. So some things that the city is working on. Right now we're revising our development standards. We're analyzing our zoning code, and we're taking a look at kind of the development standards that have impact on the middle density type of developments from 2 to 8 units, seeing how things could be maybe. I have an opinion like maybe we should reduce some of the quantity of some of the items that we're requesting and improve the quality. So that's something that we'll be providing to the City Council this year. The second item is a policy for the deferment of development and capacity fees for subdivision projects. Right now we have a policy, but that is mostly geared towards large hotels or maybe multifamily development. It's not really. It's kind of hard to apply for single-family subdivisions. So that's something that we're working on to refine. And last is to provide marketing materials for residential developers. We get a lot of requests from people interested in developing in the area, and they have questions about a lot of demographic questions about average family size, what type of industries are located in the area. So we want to provide marketing materials, also highlight some of the development incentives, show what ways that our development requirements provide flexibility, and also kind of give an overview of some of the processes that they would need to undertake to develop in the city. With that, staff recommends that the City Council accept the city's annual housing element progress report on the implementation of the housing element and direct that the report be submitted to the Governor's Office of Planning and Research and the California Department of Housing and Community Development. That concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions that the council might have.
All right, colleagues, at this time, is there any questions that we have for Mr. Hernandez? All right. Seeing no questions. All right, is there a motion to accept this report? We're waiting for our screens to come up, Angel.
Mayor, this item is not an action item. I believe
It's only a report?
It should have been an action item, but it's only a report, but we can do it verbally. You can do a motion and then a second, then we can do the voting verbally.
Yes, please, I'd like to go ahead and do that. All right, I'd like to, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open the floor for a motion to accept our housing report as presented. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll make the motion with just the request that as I'm listening to this report, Angel, I was remembering some of the roundtable discussions that we had with the housing or the building industry, the developers and whatnot. And I do apologize, I haven't circled back around with you to see what was implemented, what wasn't. So happily to accept the report and just ask that at some point in the near future, if you and I could sit down to kind of circle back on those items.
Yes, of course, and I think I highlighted two of the items, I think you stepped out, that were a result from that discussion. Yes, of course.
That's what triggered the comment, because I want to make sure that we dive into, I know there was like 7 or 9 bullet points
Action items,
that we
yeah.
walked away from. So,
Wonderful. So there is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I will second.
All right. We will do a roll call vote,
Yes.
Madam City Clerk? Yes?
Councilmember Carter,
Yes.
Councilmember Oliva,
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Marroquin,
Yes.
Mayor Cardenas Singh.
Yes. All right, great. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez, for that presentation. We appreciate it. Moving us along to legislative action. There's an item that was brought back. It's State Ballot Initiative Number 21-004 2A1. Mr. Garcia, you did such a wonderful job summarizing this for us last week, and please, if you will give us the opportunity to do another summary on this item.
Yes, sure. This ballot initiative, number 21-0042A, was presented in January 4th, 2022. It's going to find its way to our November 2024 ballot. And the purpose of this discussion is for the city to write a letter in opposition. This ballot initiative, this is not the first time that this type of language has been proposed. It was previously proposed in 2018 under the Tax Fairness, Transparency, and Accountability Act. It's being championed by the California Business Roundtable, a special interest group that essentially is trying to use the current economic climate to pass this initiative in order to benefit developers and things of that nature by taking local control out of the hands of municipalities on how they charge fees and other types of changes by making those fees and charges essentially taxes that would have to be voted on. This would also be retroactive, so any measures that have recently been passed would be essentially null and void. This is a big issue because it takes the local control away from individual communities and basically puts us in a position where we would need to rely on Sacramento for all impacts to our funding, to our law enforcement funding, fire funding, whether it be schools, whether it be a hospital, whether it be any sort of funding. We would need to rely on Sacramento because we would no longer effectively have the power of trying to pass our own initiatives under this type of regulation. It would basically use these loopholes to allow these corporations to not be accountable for the negative impacts that they have on us as municipalities, and it would leave us with little recourse on fining them through our normal means of code enforcement and other fees that we charge as a municipality for these types of things. Essentially, it takes the ball out of our court. And this has been stringently opposed by the League of California Cities because it's going to have a detrimental impact on cities specifically like us. We are not a large city with varied funding sources. We don't have millions of people for our population. So it's important for us to be able to assess our own needs and then to get our individual residents behind them to pass these types of initiatives. If this initiative passes, things like Measure P would not be a possibility. And Measure P has been so important in allowing us to allocate funds for infrastructure in order to free up our budget
to use it in other means that we necessarily need for this city. So basically, it would take away the control from the governing boards of these cities. That's why the League of California Cities is very much against it. It's just another way of stripping local control. So we would have to basically beg Sacramento to fulfill our needs, as opposed to us being able to take individual action and use funding that we gather for those needs specifically. That's why I think that we should join the League of California Cities and the many cities across California. There are more every day that are joining the opposition against this, and that we should support a letter in opposition to this ballot initiative, as it will not benefit us in any way and would ultimately just end up hurting our residents and our bottom line.
Thank you. Questions, feedback on this item? All right. So at this time, Madam City Clerk, we will be voting on this item.
Yes.
At this time, I would like to request if there is a motion for the El Centro City Council to send an opposing letter to initiative number 21-004 to A1. And with that, I have Councilmember Edgar Garcia is the mover. Second, Councilmember Tomas Oliva. Please vote.
To clarify, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Well, I don't think it'll affect the vote. This is a resolution as opposed to simply a letter.
Yes, thank you. That would be resolution number 23-23. Item passes 5-0. Thank you. All right. We have received a request for a letter of support for Senate Bill 583 from Senator Padilla for the Salton Sea Conservancy. By creating a Salton Sea Conservancy, California can expedite the construction of a new habitat and dust suppression project while centering the needs of local communities. At this point, the item is before you. It has all the bullet points that will be addressed in this letter of support. Any discussion, feedback on this letter?
No, Madam Mayor, I think that it's a good concept, in my opinion, and I'm happy that we're here considering it, and I certainly will be supporting it.
Madam City Clerk, do I need to have a vote or just the approval of my board members to approve me to write a letter of support?
A vote, Mayor, please.
Thank you. Thank you. At this time, the mover is Councilmember Tomas Oliva. Second, Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia Marroquin. Please vote. Thank you. Item passes 5-0. We'll move on to item 12B. There's a letter before you, a sample letter, and here is the sample letter. This letter will be addressed to Congressman Dr. Raul Reese, and it would state, City of El Centro strongly supports the Imperial County Transportation Commission, ICTC, 1 million community project funding request to the office of Congressman Dr. Raul Reese. With the support from the Congressman's office, ICTC seeks to upgrade its existing dial-a-ride service with modern routing software and clean vehicle technology. ICTC dial-a-ride services is available to the senior population and any individual with disabilities living within the 6 associated cities: El Centro, Calexico, Brawley, Heber, Imperial, and West Shores. The services currently use larger buses, which have proved to be oversized and yield a very low passenger utilization rate of approximately 1.5 passengers per hour. Additionally, the services currently run on gas-powered vehicles, which contribute to rising pollution and diminish air quality in the region. More recently, ICTC has had great success with its new microtransit service in Calexico, also known as Calexico On Demand. The services utilize plug-in hybrid electrical vehicles as well as a modern routing software which produces drastically higher utilization rates, averaging about 5.6 passengers per hour. Given the success of this dynamic microtransit service, ICTC seeks to upgrade its dial-a-ride services with new software to continuously optimize trips for eligible passengers. Additionally, if selected for the community project funding, ICTC will purchase PHEV vehicles, specifically Chrysler Pacificas, and also associated charging infrastructure to implement clean transportation options for this region. So that is a sample of the letter of support. And at this time, I would like to request if we could submit this letter on behalf of our council to support ICTC's grant funding opportunity. Madam City Clerk, do we have to do a roll call vote? Roll call vote?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Is there a motion to write and support and provide a letter of support to ICTC's grant funding? And Mr. Oliva, for the record, you will be abstaining.
I'll be abstaining.
Thank you.
So moved.
I will second.
All right.
Councilmember Carter,
Yes.
Councilmember Oliva,
Abstain.
Councilmember Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Marroquin,
Yes.
Mayor Cardenas Singh.
Yes. Thank you, colleagues.
Madam Mayor, can I just, for the record, explain why I abstain? Because I don't want it to
Yes,
seem
I'm
as
so
though
sorry. Yes,
I have
please.
anything against ICTC. So for those that may be aware, in the federal government, there's a process called community benefit projects. And it's basically the new fancy word for earmarks, pork barrel that we used to know back in the day. And so every member of Congress accepts applications from entities within their district, and they generally have a policy that they'll accept applications from a public entity as opposed to a private. So it's basically an application for monies from the omnibus, from the federal budget, right? And so because Congressman Reese is my employer, by voting for this, I would be telling him what to do, which I can't. So every member of Congress can only submit 15 applications, and so they probably receive like 50. So it's up to him to decide of all the applications, which 15. So I certainly can't weigh in on that publicly in this capacity. I will offer my advice to him privately as his staff, but I can't do that publicly, which is why I'm abstaining.
Thank you for that clarification, Councilmember Oliva. All right, I'll move us on to task force reports. Council members? Mr. Garcia, would you like to start?
I have nothing to report at this time.
Right. Ms. Sonia Carter?
Yes. I attended, well, my colleagues and I, we attended the annual air show. Very nice event. It was loud, and all of the airplanes were really close. I enjoyed it. Very, very nice event. And then we also attended the McGee Park groundbreaking. That was also nice. It was very windy out there, but we managed and we made it happen, and it was very nice. And then I also attended the Simply at Home reopening. That's what he said. Make sure you say reopening. I said, okay. So it was a reopening. So much stuff in there. It reminded me of my mom. I said, ooh, this looked like her room. She was just stuff everywhere, all kind of old stuff. Just, it was nice. Nice to walk through there and just reminisce and see different antiques. Like the ancient phone that we used to have. I was like, oh, this looked just like the one we had in our living room. Then we were
They
judged.
don't know what those look like.
Yeah, they don't know what those look like. We couldn't walk around the house. We had a court where we just stayed in our distance, you know. It was like, they don't know the struggle, you know. Then we were also judges at the ICOE speech event. That was very nice to see the kids show their talent.
A lot of them were nervous. You came across maybe very few that were not nervous, and you seen that they had a very, very bright future because they were just ready to say, okay, I'm signing up now. Where can I sign the papers to do big things later? So they were really headed in the right direction. So it was a very nice event as well. And then last, I attended the Extreme Fun Center. They had different local events, local vendors at the event, and it was nice to see a lot of people out there. They weren't in competition, it was two people selling tacos side by side. They were talking to each other, giving each other dap. I loved it because they were just, comparing, okay, well, I put this in my salsa, and I put this, and I love the communication amongst the community out there. Very nice event. Thank you.
Wonderful. Councilmember
Yes,
Saliba?
Madam Mayor and colleagues, first of all, I appreciate all the work that you have done this last week. I really felt absent last week. I really was. 4 trips to the Coachella Valley, round trip almost every day for my day job, and it was beneficial. I think it was really great to. I think I have visited now all of the lithium operations out there. I probably got to know the Salton Sea a lot more intimately than I thought I knew. And if you haven't been up Bombay Beach and the eastern portion of the Salton Sea, I highly recommend everyone just enjoying it before it gets like super hot, right? And just go out there and check out the wildlife, check out just go for a hike. It's actually really nice, and there's portions of the Salton Sea that I hadn't been to since I was a kid. And so it was just really nice to see it as an adult and understand why people enjoy it. It just gives a different perspective. So I have very little to report, but I will say this, that, I did also join my colleagues at the Blue Angel show. I think that it was great. I know that the mayor is going to touch on a few of the milestones and the highlights of it. I'll just say that it was a pleasure to be able to have met a lot of aviators that came in from throughout the country, and I'll defer to her to mention the details on that. Likewise, the speech and debate tournament that took place this last Saturday at Southwest High School, I do not get to be around a lot of our youth, our grade school youth, because of my day job and because of this. We don't, interact with middle schoolers or high schoolers as much. And so I have to say I was just very impressed. I was very glad to have seen youth that were so prepared, so confident, and so convincing in their arguments. I mean, I'm sitting there listening to 12th graders talk about why there should be term limits in Congress, and I'm just thinking, like, it hurt at first, right? Like, wait a minute. But then it was just like you listen to the end of it, and you're like, yeah, there should be, right? I believe you. Or there was some arguments about eliminating student debt, right? And so I'm listening to them, and I'm thinking, yeah, do it. And then there was one that spoke contrary to what I thought and was arguing for why we shouldn't eliminate it. And I thought, wow, that's different. I wasn't expecting that. But again, the point being is that I was just so impressed by our youth, and I really wish them well. And I think that there's a little bit of jealousy in me that I didn't participate in stuff like that. I don't think I was aware that those programs were available when I was younger, and I really look forward to everything that they're going to accomplish, and hope that by the time they get to our ages, they would have surpassed us in accomplishments. And so congratulations to them. We do have a joint hospital board meeting tomorrow with Heffernan and Pioneers Memorial Healthcare District, and so I'll just leave it at that, Madam Mayor. And obviously it's in the future, so I'll have more to tell at our next meeting.
Wonderful. Mayor Pro Tem?
So let's see. Gosh, last Wednesday was a busy day for me. I attended the Community Enhancement Task Force meeting, and so we covered a lot of the different projects, and many of those are things that we discuss here during council meetings, so familiarity with the agenda items was was comfortable for me. So that same day also had the downtown ad hoc committee meeting, and I'll let the mayor, report back on that with the details of what the outcomes are on that. And then late that afternoon, attended the groundbreaking ceremony at McGee Park. I really got a kick out of a small group of pickleball players that were there to mark their territory on the new courts and to give their input on how the courts should be set up. But appreciated that because, it's the community is really active and aware of what's going on around them. And so they made it a point to come out, even though it was really windy and that day, but we had a really, really good turnout. So appreciated that. My colleague, Councilmember Garcia, and I continued with CEO interviews for El Centro Regional Medical Center. Hopefully that was the last one, and I think that we'll probably be making a decision soon. And so hopefully in the near future, we'll be naming a new CEO there. I also participated as a judge at the ICOE Regional Speech and Debate Tournament. This is a migrant program that encourages their students to participate in these either speech or debate. And in this case, I was a judge for fifth graders, and I was really impressed at let me go back. I started out the morning as a judge in the seventh grade group, but then they had a group where the judges didn't show up, and they asked for volunteers to relocate. So I went from the seventh grade down to the fifth grade. Just the two seventh graders that I saw, and then going into the fifth grade, I was really impressed at how much better the fifth graders did than the seventh graders. I was blown away. But it was a very rewarding experience, and at the end, it was really good to see that. I think although my colleague, the other judge, and I were not comparing notes throughout the event because we were just really going through all of the speeches. But at the end, when we were putting together the votes, I was just really impressed at how we both saw the same things, and the scores were just like really spot on. So that was a rewarding event to participate in. So looking forward to participating again, hopefully next year, and to see some of these kids come back. So. And see if they took some of our feedback to heart. And I think that's all I have to report on. And we're going to be busy again this week full of meetings tomorrow and the day after. So,
Great. Thank you for that report. To share with you, yesterday had the opportunity to interact with our governor. Governor Newsom arrived to the Imperial Valley yesterday morning. Had the opportunity to hear the updates in regards to the lithium production here in the Imperial Valley. Likewise, I also, Cedric and myself, our city manager, had the opportunity to also, we were invited by the governor of Baja California and had the opportunity to celebrate their 120 years in Mexicali. So that was 2 governors in 6 days, so I guess that's a pretty good record as far as representation. Had the opportunity to attend Senator Steve Padilla's community swearing-in ceremony last Friday, as well the Migrant Speech and Debate Tournament. March 15th, we had our downtown ad hoc committee meeting. The result of that is going to be a town hall meeting that will be taking place April the 20th at the old post office pavilion, again, open to our downtown merchants to be having the opportunity to receive some feedback. We have heard 2 items that have been discussed already, which is one about the 2-hour parking enforcement and also about the speed that many individuals drive down downtown area. So we will make sure that we discuss those items as well. You'll also see the 2 beautiful flags, the yellow and the orange, that have been placed in the downtown area, and we thank our staff for taking down the patriotic flags that we had, and now we have these beautiful yellow and orange. And I'll tell you, it takes a lot of work to put it out there, but it looks absolutely wonderful. Again, the project, the groundbreaking for the improvements at McGee Park opening ceremonies for the El Centro Little League. Myself, Javier, and Adriana had the opportunity to throw out the first pitch. Thank God we had a good catcher that was able to catch the ball. That was a great event. A lot of excited players and families. With that as well, what I want to share with you is the day before the air show, Council Member Oliva and I had the opportunity to meet with this amazing group. So let me share with you. It was a reunion, and it was the 50 years of women in aviation. So women had not been able to fly in the Navy until 1973. And so many of these women were there. And the reunion was just amazing to see the history that was built from 1973 to present day, and they were really excited. We were really excited they chose to have the reunion here in El Centro, and so they flew from different parts of the country to come together, and it almost felt like the movie League of Our Own. It almost felt the same way because we got to see a lot of the black and white pictures and so forth, and you just see the evolution, right, from 1973 to present day about women making an impact in regards to aviation. That was a great experience to hear the stories. With that, also had the opportunity to participate at our end of the basketball season award ceremony, and had the opportunity to visit our fair booth, which was really groovy. It was done really well. It was great. A lot of feedback from our community. And then had the opportunity to tour the Catholic Charities Day Center. And I will tell you, that center has maximized every space possible, from the laundromat to the showers to the open area and to the industrial kitchen that has been put in place. So that was great to see. So that is the end of my report, and I'll go ahead and hand it over to our interim city manager for your report, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I got a huge list, but I'm going to try to go quick. Had a few meetings, Imperial County Transportation Commission, as well as the City and County Managers Association, attended those. I also attended the Library and Community Services Board meeting, where there was a discussion about services at the library. There was a lot of curiosity about Carla and when she was coming on board. They were very happy to see and hear that she was going to be coming on board this week. So the next meeting, obviously, she'll be present and be able to assist. As Madam Mayor mentioned, I attended the Mexicali celebration. I'll tell you, that was interesting. Took us through the Roaring 20s, into the 60s, into a rap presentation. All very well put together and done. I was, pleasantly surprised. Also had the opportunity to attend the McGee Park groundbreaking. And as was mentioned, actually the pickleball players they had an ambassador on site, which I was surprised that they existed. And they're super involved. They want to be involved moving forward with the design and so forth. It was a bright and windy day, but we got through it. Last Thursday, the fire department held the Fill the Boot at Imperial Avenue and Adams. I actually had the opportunity to put on my uniform and go out there and shake a boot and try to get some donations. So a big shout out to Fire Captain Robert Gonzalez, Alan Jauregui, firefighter, Richard Ricardo Vasquez, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and Josh Rodriguez. I left at the right time when these guys got hired, so I haven't learned their names. And Battalion Chief Chapin. They actually collected $1,560 in the time that they were there. This goes to the Burn Institute, so it assists with sending children to burn camp. So it's a great opportunity. Also attended the State of the County address last Friday. Today, we actually had a swearing-in ceremony. I think every meeting we've had, I've actually shared with you guys that we've hired somebody. Today, we had actually 2 employees get sworn in full-time, one at Public Works and the other one over in Finance. So we had that happen today. And I wanted to highlight a couple of our departments. One of them was the fire department for the work that they did with the Fill the Boot. This is in their off time. It's basically they volunteer to get this done. And, you know, it's actually work. I actually was, you know, my watch was asking me if I was working out while we were doing that. So that was interesting. And also Public Works. Public Works actually stepped up this weekend over the last couple of days to actually assess, respond, and actually repair a couple of water main breaks. We even got a rave on social media on one of those, which is a good thing, right? Anytime you get a rave, that's a great thing, especially, you know, taking care of the critical infrastructure. As far as, and in closing, I want to remind the public that we have the Easter egg hunt that's coming up and movie night this Saturday, the 25th at Buckland Park, 5 to 9 p.m. We're going to have over 10,000 Easter eggs out there. The Easter egg hunt's going to happen around 6 p.m. And then obviously the Easter bunny is going to be there. There's going to be kid zones, food vendors. And the movie, it's going to be Puss in Boots with The Last Wish at dusk. So I'm assuming that around this time, you know, we'll be watching a movie on Saturday. And then 2 last items. For those who are looking for a summer job, the City of El Centro is going to be working for some high-quality people to join our team for the summer. And that includes summer camp leaders and basketball coaches, as well as an assessment that's going to happen for the Aquatic Center, where people can actually assess, see if they can become lifeguards, and then they can take the training and then help us out at the Aquatic Center with the work that they do out there. End the report, Madam Mayor.
Wonderful. All right. Anything else for the greater good? All right. Meeting is adjourned. Everyone go home